Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. All right, first question. Hey Jason, I get up at 5 a.m. in the week to train at 6 a.m., getting normally between 6 to 7 hours. Usually on the weekends I'll sleep till between 7 to 8 a.m., so get around 7 to 8, sometimes a bit more. My question is, in relation to strength training, what's your thoughts on getting up at the same time every day to keep the body clock the same compared with using a couple days a week to get extra few hours in? Thanks, coach. Uh, well, when you're dealing with only getting 6 to 7 hours of sleep every night, I think getting more sleep is going to be more important than consistency in training time. In other words, any benefit that you think you're going to get in terms of performance, because maybe if you train at the same time every day instead of a few hours later, that extra 2 pounds you're going to get on your 5 rep sets isn't going to be worth it in terms of the lost recovery and muscle growth from the sleep. Now, here's what I would say. If you were sleeping 8 hours every night, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd be like, that's fine, man, go ahead and get up at the same time. It's perfectly acceptable. Keep your consistency, because in that case, the consistency in the training could take priority if you personally note a performance difference, right? And that's what it comes down to, is individual performance difference. Some people perform better in the morning, some people better in the evening, but even if you're consistent with that, it's still better than training at your ideal time, because we don't always have the option to train at our ideal time. And that includes even me with the home gym, believe it or not, right? That includes even me. It's just life and everything else, and a lot of factors can interfere with you being able to train at your ideal time. Just is what it is. But in the case of something like this, I'm also concerned that if you're only sleeping 6 or 7 hours a night and you're talking about every day, I honestly hope you're not training more than about 3 times a week, because you really and truly do not have a sleep pattern that's going to allow you to optimize a 4, 5, or 6 day a week training program. You just don't have that, and that's just reality. You might want to look at that and accept that. Maybe 4 if you're pushing it, but that's, quite frankly, someone who's only getting 6 hours of sleep, there's no way I would have them do enough training volume per week that even necessitates a 4-day-a-week program. So just food for thought with all of that. And there's a lot of ways you could look at it. All right, next question. Hey Jason, with your hypothetical strength sport, the press, deadlift, and chin up, in what exercise order would you have lifters do in a meet? Any additional rules you would add? That's an interesting question. I think what people need to understand when I proposed that was purely a hypothetical thing. It's not something I plan on implementing. I'm not going to start this. I'm going to be honest, unless you have $1 million to invest, you have no business even trying to start a small strength sport, right? You have no business even doing it. But this was just a hypothetical thought experiment of what would I do if I wanted a strength sport in which we could just remove weight class. Just remove weight class completely, and would balance out and still determine who has the best overall strength, relative strength, more of like functional strength. And I think those 3 lifts would do it. So what would the rules be? Well, there'd be no weigh-ins or weigh-outs. That would be one of the rules. But I mean, as far as those go, again, the press, I would expect them to touch the chest, probably pause off the chest, right? Pause on the chest, just like you would on a bench press, and give them maybe a press command. I don't know. I don't even think you would need the command. I don't like the command aspect on the bench. Either you pause on the bench or you don't. Judges should just rule it. So I'm not a big fan of start and stop commands. Either a lift should be legal or not. That's one thing strength lifting does get right. But outside of that, no real rules. I mean, the rules we have on the deadlift are fine in powerlifting. I don't think they need to necessarily give them a down command. The press, I think strength lifting's rules are somewhat reasonable. The only problem you run into is that how do you control the layback? I don't know how we deal with that with the press. That's a problem they're already running into in strength lifting, just like they did in the Olympics. That's why the press was removed. So that's a factor. Chin-ups, I mean, they already have a way to judge chin-ups. There's already chin-up contests, and they're really, really big in Europe. Like, there's serious championships, and there's guys who are legitimately strong. I mean, a chin-up, you would need to go to a dead hang at the bottom. In other words, the judges would look and see if your scapula come apart, right? They look for your scapula to come apart at the bottom and for your chin to make it over the bar. And I think that would be sufficient. But as far as those rules go, I mean, you just do a combination of the rules that already exist for the different strength sports for those. And we could remove some rules because we wouldn't need weigh-ins or weigh-outs, since there'd be no real supportive equipment allowed outside of maybe belts and wrist wraps. We wouldn't need as many equipment standards. And again, we wouldn't even need to be as strict on certain things, because these are not exercises in which depth is going to be judged strictly like we have to do on a squat. People aren't going to get as many leverage advantages from trying to hide stuff in their suits. So in all honesty, you could actually run pretty minimal rules and get away with this just fine. It would just be, are you doing the full range of motion on the lifts? Are you using extra inertia, right? And that way we could judge actual strength more than purely technique. All right, next question. Thoughts on full body concurrent twice per week as opposed to upper lower 4 times? I'm an athlete who wants to do a lot of other stuff, cardio, etc. No. Nuh-uh. Only lifting twice a week for someone who's actually serious about making progress? Absolutely not. It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous. I'm not saying you can't make gains doing it, but at a certain point, I've got to look at it and say, well, what in the hell are you doing with your training? And I base that upon what the best of the best do. Do you look at how many football teams, professional football teams out there who are successful, or guys who are getting ready for their combine and stuff, are still doing 4-day-a-week concurrent periodization? Look how many hybrid athletes people like Blaha have running this sort of training. Right? He has people who are competing in powerlifting meets and doing marathons in the same year who still train 4-day-a-week concurrent. So if guys who are college guys who are getting ready for the combine and are getting drafted can do this, if hybrid athletes can run marathons and do powerlifting meets in the same year running 4-day-a-week concurrent periodization, why can't you? I mean, do you just want to be lazy with your lifting? Now, if you tell me, hey, I just want to be lazy as shit with my lifting, so I only want to go twice a week, well, that's fine. It's fine. If you want to be lazy with it, that's cool. Because strength and muscle aren't really a big priority for you. And if you can only gain, 50% of your potential on both, it's worth it because you want to focus on other stuff. See, that's fine. I don't think you should do that. I wouldn't recommend that. But that's what it comes down to. Look at what the best of the best do with this stuff. And a lot of, again, people who need multifaceted elements, and you're going to find you really do need the 4 days a week to get adequate training volume to do everything perfectly. And you work all of your other stuff in your sport-specific work and your conditioning around it. All right? That's how it works. But you still are supposed to be doing all that stuff on a 4-day-a-week concurrent system. All right, next question. Thoughts on nofap and all these claims nofappers make? Most of their claims are complete bullshit, not backed by data, not backed by anything at all. Now, are there positives to it? Yeah, absolutely. What's the only real positive? There's only one positive to it at all. It can break porn addiction. It can break porn addiction, because porn addiction is actually a problem. Like, porn addiction will actually interfere with your sex life and your ability to even be intimate with a real woman. Right? It's a problem. Absolute problem. Researchers have noted it. They're aware of it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. This is a successful way to break that. 100%, and I mean literally 100% of the benefits that you get from this are breaking that. Everything else is a negative. Everything else is a negative. It is absolutely not healthy for you as a male to go days and days at a time without expelling. It's absolutely not. It's unhealthy. It's not ideal for your prostate. It's not ideal for your mood. It's not ideal for your depression. It's not ideal for your testosterone production. So from a health perspective and even an energy and mood and depression perspective, it's really, really stupid. And it's anti-science. It's the complete opposite of what you should be doing. However, if someone has an actual porn addiction, it is a viable strategy for breaking that. But you need to understand that that is what it is. That is the benefit to it. And hey, if you're struggling with that, if that's a problem for you, then that might be what you need to do for a short phase. But if it's something that you would do for a prolonged period of time, it's actually not healthy. It's not healthy at all. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.